back to Hear Me Out. I'm E.
I'm D.
And today we're going to recap season 5, episode 5 of The Kardashians. This episode is called Baby Barker. So, what do you think it's about? The last 20 minutes, which was beautiful and agony at the same time because it was so long. Like I couldn't even take it.
Oh
But
no.
a lot happened in this episode. We're going to go over it and obviously give you our thoughts.
Okay, so this is a recap from Sportskeeda, written by Shweta Zavari. And so after the last episode of The Kardashians saw Khloe and Malika go to a sperm bank to explore Malika's options for having a baby, episode 5 saw them decide against it. The episode was released on Thursday, June 20th, and was titled Baby Rocky, as it documented Kourtney giving birth to her son Rocky. The episode also covered Kim as she tried selling her comedy movie to different studios. When Kylie and Kendall met, they spoke about the former's battle with demeaning comments on social media. The sisters teared up as they bonded over the shared trauma caused by people online. Khloe and Malika went on a trip to a farm to get a baby goat for True. They ended up not getting it because of the responsibilities it came with. So, okay, that was the overall, right? Episode 5 of The Kardashians kicked off with the Balenciaga fashion show, which was held in Beverly Hills with the backdrop of the Hollywood sign. Kim attended as the brand ambassador while Kendall sat next to her. Cardi B walked the show. Okay. So before we continue, because I'd like to break this up into some smaller sections, what do we think about this part? Because I know how we have felt in the past, but what did you think?
I mean, personally, I'm not over the Balenciaga thing. I don't purchase Balenciaga. Um, but Kim never really addressed it. The most she did was wait, what, 2, 3 days to say, oh, your actions were reprehensible. But yet we saw you still wear Balenciaga on season 3, season 4. Now you're a whole brand ambassador. I thought you were going to stand on something, Kim. Like, if you're here trying to do prison reform, and I know it's not the same thing, like, how can you stand for one thing and then stand for injustices in another? And we can really like go dig deep and talk about how all these fashion brands have had mishaps like this in the future, in the past. But I mean, it's expected. I don't know. She's rocking my nerves. That's what she's doing. What do you think?
Um, I mean, clearly this family has a tendency to gloss over things and pretend as if nothing is happening because the fans have allowed that for so long.
Mhm.
Kim was held to the fire for what, a couple of days after the Balenciaga thing, and then she released a statement, and everybody was like, "It's not good enough." But then there was no follow up. There was
Mhm.
no follow through. There was nothing really that came after that. So that's why it kind of feels like they continue to do the same thing over and over again because it's allowed. They don't ever really fully acknowledge the extent of certain things, and sometimes they leave things out altogether. They never talked about Astroworld when Kylie was going through that with Travis.
Mhm.
So yeah, like this is not, it's not surprising, but it also kind of felt like a slap in the face, like you're rubbing it in our faces that you're their brand ambassador, that you have like closely worked with them, like you are touting your close relationship with them, but at the time when things were happening with the scandal and all of that, you basically try to what, say that you were going to give them like a slap on the wrist kind of thing, like I'm going to reevaluate my relationship. Yeah, she reevaluated it to becoming their brand ambassador, like
Mhm.
once enough time had passed. That's all that it seems like she did.
Yeah.
And given that she's a mom, it's very unfortunate that this is still something that she's okay with. So yeah, that whole part was just kind of like, whatever. And we've had comments where people have, listened to our videos and they've said, well, Kim is not the only one. And it's true, Kim is not. There's plenty of people who still wear Balenciaga. Obviously, Cardi B participated in their show. Um, and everybody, of course, has some fault to there, has some blame there. But Kim has essentially, and she even said it herself in this episode, she's kind of been the face of Balenciaga for many years now. So it's a little bit more of an emphasis when it comes from her because of the fact that she's been an influencer. She was what an influencer was before there were influencers. So the fact that she has continued to really promote them in the way that she does, that's kind of what makes it I think a little bit more where yeah, we're pointing the finger more at her. This is her show and she's the one, representing all of this. So anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I thought about all that. Whew. So also, Kim revealed while she was at the Balenciaga show, well, it was through a confessional, that she had the script for a comedy movie and that she was nervous about pitching it because she had never done anything like it before, which we'll later on see how all of that goes. In another scene, Kendall meets with Kylie at her house. They decided to prank their mom by giving Chris's dog, Bridget, a haircut that she didn't like. However, when they got to their mom's house, Corey caught them and their plan failed. The sisters then sat down to talk about the mean comments from people. Kylie teared up as she said, "Why do people think it's okay to talk about me?" Kendall consoled her and said that their family had to grow tough skin and be oblivious to people's comments because they had been under media scrutiny for a long time. Okay, so let's touch on that before we move any further. What did you think?
Well, first of all, they are the worst pranksters in America because they didn't even try. That's not even considered a prank. That's not even considered a plan. They suck. They need some lessons from the Scotts of the world, the Chloes, even the Kims, and Kim is stiff. That that was a catastrophe. This scene, there's a lot of things circulating on social media, but this scene kind of peeved me, kind of really upset me because Kendall's over here trying to console her sister at our expense. So, our expense meaning the fans and the people saying, well, people they just see us and they want to dehumanize us and they think that we don't have any feelings. And I can't remember her words. I wish I would have written it down. Essentially blaming us for hurting her sister's feelings or hurting their family feelings or, all our mean comments and things like that. Listen, girl, your family has developed these beauty standards for what, 20 years at this point? When the Kardashians initially came out and they were kids, what did we know the Kardashians for? The
Uh,
leisure dresses,
oh
their
yeah,
big butts, like curvaceous women, when we used to see, the stick thin models in the
right.
past. So they were the exception to the rule besides J-Lo and her Versace dress. So, what have they done with that? They have used their sensuality, they have used their bodies, they have used their beauty to expand their empire to what it is. Everything that they do, they use their physical. So, Kylie got lip injections or whatever she got, sold her Kylie lip kit, and now she has this huge 500 million plus company called Kylie Cosmetics. Kim has used her body, her shape for what? Skims. When she had that little mishap with kimono, but she named it Skims later. Whatever. We're not going to talk about that. She's used her body, even in her marketing, she uses people's bodies to promote this, which makes sense because it's undergarments kind of thing. Anything that they do, it's appealing to how they look. So if they are setting like these standards where like, well, you're supposed to kind of look like this or, wear this to feel pretty or buy this to look nice, you don't expect us to, I guess, attack you in these certain ways. Not that it's okay. But if we're trying to achieve that beauty, that success that you have, and we're trying to emulate what you are, of course we're going to call you out on it. It's like, well, I can't do that because you have 10,000 chefs and you have personal trainers and you have access to all these medical things to get Botox and things like that. Like, what are they expecting? We're not dehumanizing you. It's like you sold us this dream, not me personally, but just people overall. You sold us this thing and you just don't like the backlash of portion of it all. It's not all glitz and glam. You're going to have your bad sides too. What do you think?
Um, yeah, so I mean, on a human, like basic human level, I felt bad for her because she was a kid when all of this started, and she has been made fun of many years for her appearance, just as her sisters have in the past. So she does have a point in that regard, right? She was a kid, and obviously there's no real reason or no right reason for anybody to make fun of a child's appearance. So in that sense, like I did feel sorry for her. I felt bad for her because to grow up with that, it's not easy. Um, but but I also think that when she became an adult, she monetized her looks the same way that her family had done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in that sense, her family is also to blame here for her misfortune when it comes to how she feels, because her family initiated all of these impossible beauty standards and she then capitalized on it when she was able to. So at that point, it's kind of hard to fully feel sorry for her because they are millionaires and billionaires off of the impossible beauty standards that they have set for millions of women. At a certain point in time, I would say about what, like 8 or so years ago, everybody was cookie cutter, like exact replicas of Kardashians, doing their makeups, looks exactly like them, dressing like them. Everybody was getting BBLs, all of this stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the Kardashian Jenner sisters decided we want to be really skinny. And so now everybody has been doing these like really skinny looks as well, with the buccal fat removal, with all these different things that people do. And it's, some of it can be cosmetic, some of it can be just people working out, weight loss and stuff, but there's also Ozempic. There's a lot of these different things that in one way or another, they are attached to these things because, like I mentioned earlier, Kim is one of the original influencers, and her sisters have only followed in those footsteps. And it's kind of hard to really like fully feel sorry for her. Again, like I said, because she is now an adult and she has for many years as an adult perpetuated the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then my other thought process with all of it is the fact that they have never ever really taken responsibility for any of it. There was past seasons where they tried to pretend like they were taking some sort of accountability, but they didn't. It was a lot of nothing that was said, where I think Kylie talked about, well, I wouldn't want my daughter to feel like she needs to change this or that. Okay, but you did that to many of other people's daughters. So where's the accountability in any of it? Excuse me. And with Kendall and what she was saying to her, um, it's really ironic, I think, coming from Kendall, who has been someone that has very publicly talked about her anxieties and her issues that she has had when it comes to a lot of like the public and things that come with fame. So for her to basically tell Kylie like, oh, we just need to grow tough skin, okay, but how can you really do that when you're constantly also throwing it back in people's faces that you're this or you're that or you look this way? You have glam rooms, you have campaigns just fully showing the way that you look. We are constantly seeing photos on Instagram and other social media sites where they're wearing practically nothing. And again, it's just kind of like it's unfortunate that, we were at this point. And no, I don't think that people have a right to make fun of other people's looks. But in some ways, like, I think that pointing out like certain things is not necessarily making fun of them. Like, we did a video um a few months ago or last year, I can't remember exactly, about the way that Kylie was looking aged. And that wasn't us making fun of her or trolling her or, saying mean things about her looks. It was just us pointing out the fact that this is a mid 20s woman, young woman, who has done so many things throughout her life cosmetically or allegedly, and now she looks a certain way. Can we say that within the last 6 to 8 months, Kylie has definitely looked a lot better? Yes, she has. She looks like she's young again and everything. But yeah, at one point she didn't look a certain way. And it's not, I know they wanted to say it's like lighting or bad angles. No. There's definitely like videos of a lot of these things that also came out. So it, again, it's not, I don't think we were making fun of them. I don't think we were, trying to like say anything negative necessarily, but just pointing out the fact that, like, she looked older than some of her bigger sisters or older sisters, and that is just like a repercussion of the things that have been going on for so many years. So anyway, again, like I said, the lack of accountability makes me feel less sorry for the situation,
Hmm.
because it's not going to stop, like, they're going to keep doing this. And the last thing that I'll say about all that is, right after that scene, we get confessionals that are filtered. So we're still not seeing you people as who you really are. The fact that people make jokes online about, oh, how many different faces has Chloe had, how many different faces Kylie has, whatever. Yes, that can be mean spirited, but we are getting filtered confessional videos of you guys, because Kris Jenner is in her 70s, but they make her look like she's in her 50s. No wrinkles. There's no there's no amount of facelifts in the world that can make you look that good. So if we're getting filtered, photoshopped videos, pictures, and all that stuff of you guys, it's hard to take it seriously when you're saying that you feel so upset about the way that people troll you, when you make it so that people don't know what you really look like. So that was really annoying. Afterwards, literally, we rolled right
Mm,
into a next scene. Filtered.
I was gonna mention, I'm like, the Kardashians have a problem with aging,
Mm.
and their filters prove it. I saw somebody on Instagram saying, they're always so filtered and so perfect that people feel like they've been kind of gypped when they see like the real thing. But again,
Yeah.
that goes back to setting unrealistic beauty expectations. I don't know if it was in this scene or in the next episode, not this scene, but this episode or next episode. Kim says, I have 10 good years to look good for movies and things like that. So, what does that
Just this
say?
episode.
Oh, it was
It
this
was.
episode. I kind of
Mhm.
tuned her out, but I saw a reel on Instagram. So she's saying she got 10 good years. We know Kim is in her 40s. So what is she
Mhm.
saying? Life after that is like terrible. She's not going to give up Botox. Like, listen to what you guys are saying and doing. Kylie's over here every season trying to talk about these things, but then there goes Kim or somebody else like Kris. It's like, no, aging is terrible. So you can't blame, you're giving us mixed messages. It's like, hey, you're not as perfect. We're kind of like pointing out you're not as perfect as it seems on Instagram. It's all fake, it's all phony. So you can't have it both ways. Either you sell us this dream and take it in the chin, or if you want to be real, then maybe we'll respect you more.
Oh
Simple
yeah,
as simple as that.
for sure. Because I mean, it just feels like it's a constant thing where it's like they want to play the victim, but don't acknowledge what they did to get to this point. And when Kim made that comment, um, to me, immediately I thought about the Kylie conversation, because it's like, okay, so you're saying that you are basically utilizing your looks, your body again for capital gains
Mhm.
at whatever expense, and then what, you're gonna like not do that anymore. That's, we know that's not the case. We
Yeah.
see that Kris Jenner constantly hides her hands because you can't get de-aging surgery on your hands. We see that at times she hides her neck, which other celebrities that are older also do the same thing to hide, some of the wrinkles there. And so that's where I just kind of feel like, again, it doesn't feel fully authentic, right? To like see it all from a spectrum of like, this is so horrible, the way that they're treated. And when Kendall said like, oh, they're dehumanizing us and stuff, ma'am, you dehumanized yourselves to us a long time ago. Um, I don't think we are necessarily doing that. And I'm not saying that there aren't mean people on the internet. There are. We've had comments in our videos about our looks. So we know that there are trolls out there. We know there are people that are negative out there. But just in general, her making that comment about the dehumanization, that wasn't us that started that. That was your family that did that.
Mhm.
And people running with it, I mean, it's kind of hard to blame them for it when that is what, we've seen or whatever for, what, nearly 2 decades at this point.
Now that you brought up Kris, I'm like, Kris, like you said, hides all these things, and she's no stranger to plastic surgery or whatever she does. But then at the same time, she pokes fun at being old or older or aging, because we see in the previous episodes and other seasons of the Kardashians, this season she has a hearing problem
Mhm.
and she's flipping out about all these things. And there was an article that says, Kris is trying to capitalize on all these fake health issues just to keep the Kardashians going. So her bringing up all the bad side, I guess, or the natural side of aging, like losing your hearing or wrinkles, or I don't know, your knees hurting, your hip replacement. It's all associated with bad things, consciously or subconsciously. So it's not also what you say, it's also what you do.
Yeah. And that's, again, it's all contradictory. And
Mm-hmm.
that is very much their brand. Their brand is contradictory. Like, you want
Contradictory. Just put it there.
with a K. Contradictory with a
Oh.
K. With a K. Because, like, no, think about it. They are obsessed with looks and body image and all these different things. And they try to sell us this reality through their reality TV show. But
Mhm.
it's the reality show's heavily filtered and photoshopped and executive produced by the same people that are starring in it. Therefore, they are able to make the same edits to make themselves look better. So who is putting these filters? They are.
Mhm.
Who is photoshopping these things? They are. I mean, it's like I said, it goes back to the same thing. It just kind of feels disingenuous. A lot of like when they have these sort of conversations, it falls flat. But okay. So, meanwhile, Chloe and Malika went to an animal farm to get a baby goat for True. Once there, Chloe quickly realized it was a lot to take care of a goat because they weren't toilet trained and would consummate with their sisters. So she decided against adopting one. Uh, so the next part of it says the Kardashians cameras then followed Kim as she was on her way to pitch her comedy movie called The Fifth Wheel. After her back-to-back meetings with 5 different studios, Kim went to lunch with her friends. She told them that she had sold her movie to Netflix, and they were delighted to hear that. She shared that she wasn't only going to act on it, but was also going to produce it. Okay, so before we cut to the last 20 minutes of the show, as he mentioned at the beginning of this video, which was Courtney's pregnancy. What do we think about Chloe's adventure with Malika and then Kim's pitch situation?
Well, her adventure, it was very keeping up. It's the typical dumb stuff that they would do.
Right.
He's always funny. I liked her dynamic with Malika. I didn't think anything of it. I actually thought it was cute and not cute at the same time. That kids like on a field trip recognized Chloe and Chloe was so nice to them, but at the same time, it's like their influence never stops.
Mhm.
So 9-year-olds know who Khloe Kardashian is. Aren't you supposed to know who Peppa Pig is or something? Like, why Chloe? So that means they know about the Kardashians and they know about these beauty standards, or it's, not in depth like we know, but, the things that they see. So it's sad that they might be impacted in some kind of way. But it was nice that, Chloe was really nice with them and took pictures.
Yeah.
And then the Kim episode, I always think Kim is bragging at this point. I'm like, these lifers, they gotta really love her or really know her on some other kind of level because she's exhausting at this point.
Extremely.
I don't,
Um,
I don't have anything else to say about Kimberly.
okay, well, so the Chloe thing, I need to see more Chloe and Malika together. I think that is a lot more fun, a lot more lighthearted, and like you said, reminiscent of Keeping Up. Um, and I feel like in Keeping Up, we did get a lot more Malika, and this new iteration of the Kardashians, we don't really see her that much. And given all the things that Chloe has been through, I would think that you would have more Malika. So I was glad to see that part. I thought it was hilarious. Their discussion about goats, and then the fact that the little girls recognized her, I was like, oh, that's sweet, especially that she took time to like,
Mhm.
go and hug them and all that. But what was hilarious more so than anything else was the little girl at the end, who are you? And I was just like, okay, that was funny. Because Chloe was just saying the same thing, like, oh, I can't believe that they know who I am, blah blah blah. And then one last one's like, no, I don't know you.
Well,
So
that's good.
yeah, at least there's one. There's one that maybe does know Peppa Pig instead. And then the Kim thing. Okay, so here's my question: where was these lifers at in Keeping Up? Because I don't recall seeing them as much as we've seen them in the last season or two of the
Mhm.
Kardashians. If I recall correctly,
They were sprinkled. We would see
they were,
Allison more.
yes, we would see Allison, they were kind of sprinkled, but it wasn't like what it is now. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there was an episode in Keeping Up where Kim basically like had some reunion or whatever, and it was almost like as if she was seeing them for the first time in years or something. And so it's like, but if they're lifers, how are you seeing them again after years or something like that? Like, I don't know if it's the same group of people, or if I'm like mistaking, exactly how it happened. But I feel like there was an episode that she did in Keeping Up with some
Hmm.
sort of a reunion. Um and that's why it's kind of like it just feels weird now that she has like all these women, these lifers that she talks about so constantly, that I don't recall ever really seeing on Keeping Up all that much. Um, and she is braggy. Like everything I feel like at this point is very much braggy. Like, oh, I didn't think my career would go this way. I wasn't expecting this career. Oh, I'm executive producing it, starring in it, writing it. Da, 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 da. Oh, okay. Oh, and I
Hmm.
think I'm gonna do like a movie a year or something, and that gives me 10 good years. So the last two episodes where she's been complaining about the mom work life balance, that didn't come up during this conversation of her now.
About it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was just annoyed. Anyway, um and now we will move on to the last 20 minutes. Back at Courtney's house on the Kardashians, she said she was having a contraction. She was taken to the hospital at night, but the baby wasn't coming out despite her trying to get things moving by bouncing on an exercise ball. So they decided to leave the hospital. She said, so we went home, ate at Crossroads, showered, slept in our bed, and then we have sex to get things going. Courtney. Travis drove Courtney to the hospital the next day, October 31st. They were happy to be having a son on Halloween. While at the hospital, Travis played soft drums to the heartbeat of his son, which was echoing through the monitor. Courtney said she found the sound of drums soothing. At about 11:55 p.m. on October 31st, Courtney started pushing, wondering if her son would be born on Halloween or the day after. After about 5 minutes of pushing, she delivered the baby exactly at midnight on November 1st, 2023. So that was episode 5. What did you think of those last 20 minutes?
You know what I really liked? I really like Travis. I don't
Oh,
like
yeah.
Travis and Courtney.
Oh,
You
my
know
God.
why? Because I thought it was so sweet that, well, Courtney's a little bitch for first of all and foremost, because she says that's not part of the plan. I don't want my mom there. Granted, you could do whatever you want whenever you want. You could invite people to your birthing thing. You could invite people to parties, uninvite them, whatever. But then, your mom has been a part of your life all this time. How many times have we seen all of them in a room at this point? You
Yeah.
have a whole film crew there. So to me, it seems like she hates her family. And I understand that they have put her through the ringer,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make sense that she's still filming with the family then. She's
That's
giving
true.
me mixed signals. So I really loved and appreciated when Travis said, "Hey, if my mom was alive, I would want her here or she would be here." It's like,
Yeah.
come on, Courtney, like, get beside yourself. Like, why are you so upset with your mom? Like, is there something that we don't know, or is it because of, them pushing Scott onto you? Is it because Kim was the favorite and now Kylie's the favorite? Is it because how they have collectively treated you, or what is it? Like, I feel like you can't have it both ways. If this is her new family, as she claims it is, then she needs to remove her old family.
Dang.
That's my problem with her. And then after that, she's like, "Well, it was a really special moment and blah blah blah." And but she just doesn't make sense to me. Like, but overall, it was a beautiful thing to see. I did think that they do the most, but that's true Kardashian fashion. Nobody has music blasting or Frank Sinatra blasting as they're birthing a child, because I've seen a couple willingly and unwillingly. We've seen one together. We're like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
So, you know, she just rocks my nerves. What do you think?
I mean, so for me, it's like one of these things where I thought about like I felt weird the way that she thought about, oh, I don't want my mom to be in the thing. I just want it to be me and Trav or whatever. But I feel like when it comes to her and Travis, um, everything has sort of been that way, where she kind of just wants it to be them. And I don't know if it's because of the past
I can see that.
or because this is a new life for her. And maybe in that newness, she wants to just like keep things in that bubble. Um
Kardashians
and
do have a tendency of destroying things or like messing
yes,
things up. So that's understandable. Okay.
yeah, and so I kind of like I think I kind of look at it that way. I mean, yes, like I said, it was initially weird to me. Um but I also do think that like, Chris has not favored Courtney in a lot of ways for many years, and we've known that. But I
Hmm.
feel that when it comes to Courtney being a mom, Courtney having her kids or whatever, Chris has always been there. And these are like very important like moments, right? Like, so I think like her showing up at least for these sort of moments, making that effort, like she's like Courtney said, she was not in the neighborhood. So her making that effort and saying, I'm not a part of the plan, but I'm gonna make myself part of the plan. It means something, right? Like it at least feels like not Kim, Chris is making that effort for her.
Hmm.
And so I thought it was good that, she did allow her to stay, because I think she probably would have initially said like, no, go away or something. So Anyway, and then the overall thing, I thought that's crazy. The baby was like, "No, I'm not coming Halloween. I'm gonna be here November 1st, like exactly at midnight. I'm not gonna give you what you want." It feels very Courtney-esque to me. That's Courtney's son. Like that is literally Courtney's son because
Didn't change the date to 11:59.
I know that would have, yeah. But so that was interesting. I did like them kind of doing the flashbacks to the journey, of getting to this point, right? Of them after their fertility struggles finally being able to have their baby that they had been, wanting for such a long time. So I thought that was beautiful. And I also just don't really care for how much they showed. Like I didn't need to see her legs wide open like that. I need to see part of her belly. I was good. But it just reminded me of when she had Mason, and it was like she pulled the baby. Listen, listen. There's some things we don't need to see, guys. We could have kept it above, like chest up,
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, and I also agree that Travis is great. I think this is the sort of like husband that anybody would dream of, right? Like taking care of her, trying to help her through all of this, wanting to just be a part of the whole thing in a very wholesome way, and making like such an effort. These are things that should be the bare minimum, but obviously we don't see that a lot, especially with these like celebrity couples and everything. So it is beautiful. I think the relationship has definitely grown on me a lot more because at first it was a little cringe. They were doing way too much, but now it just kind of feels like they're more settled in. They're more a unit. And so it was just, I think, a really good, like this could be like their happily ever after. They got their baby, the end. Like this seems like that's what it could kind of be. And if she were to decide to leave the show and have her own show with Travis, this would be the perfect time to do that because it feels like now she's done, right? Like she doesn't need to do anything else with the Kardashians at this point.
She's not that interesting.
She may not be that interesting to you, ma'am, but some people may actually want to see what she's up to, what she's doing, especially given the dynamic that she has with Travis.
Hmm. I think she's gonna have another baby. We'll see this on season 9 of the Kardashians.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
Like you said with Violet Bridgerton, I know, unrelated. Just look at these throwaway things, right? So what did Chris say? She's like, well, Kylie or Kendall needed a sister. Like we didn't want her alone.
Right, right,
So I'm sure Courtney is going to go the surrogate route probably. But she's kind of cuckoo cuckoo, so she might do it herself again. Um,
right.
which is natural by the way. So I think we're gonna see another baby Barker.
That'll be interesting. Okay, so this is your prediction.
That's my prediction.
All right. Well, yeah, that was episode 5
All right.
overall.
Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think the Barkers are going to have a TV show? Didn't he have a show with Shayna Mokler?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, look, that's going to get that
Yeah.
girl going
Oh,
at
for sure.
this point.
Sure.
Will you tune in if they have the Barker part 2 kind of show? What do we think about Chris just showing up? Is Chris a good mom after all? Or is Courtney being too hard on her? What do you think about their dynamic? Now,
Mhm.
these lifers, have they been lifers? Is Kim just trying to bring them in because she has no other friends? Like she needs more of a storyline? I'm just throwing out things to get the comments going. Do you think the listeners are annoyed with Kim and all her? Oh no, well I'm tired, but not really. I have all these new endeavors going. Is she
Mhm.
braggy or is it just like a friend chatting with friends? What do we think about Chloe and Malika and the humping goat? Like,
Right.
do you see more Chloe and Malika? And lastly, what do we think about the Kendall Kylie exchange?
Mhm.
What do you think about these beauty standards? Do you feel bad for Kylie crying or, you know, she set herself up. Let us know.
Right.
But that concludes today's episode. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, please share our video. We're trying to grow our community so your friends can be our friends and we can all be friends. We also have social media, which Steve will tell you about.
We are on TikTok and Instagram at Hear Me Out DNE. So make sure you guys like, follow, share, and comment. You can also listen to the videos in podcast format via Spotify and YouTube Music.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
Bye-bye.